Snow whipped across the avenue, lights flickered, footsteps echoed. He almost kept walking. Then a cry, sharp, breaking through the storm. He turned, breath fogging, heart pounding, eyes locking on a girl curled against the bench. Hair matted coat, ripped fists, clutching nothing but cold air. She tried to rise, stumbled, fell again, her lips moving soundlessly. He rushed forward, coat dropping, arms out, questions colliding. Why was she here? Who left her? What had she survived? He never imagined that within seconds the course of his life would be torn open and rewritten forever. If you want to know what happens next, stay with me until the end of the video. And if you still believe deep in your heart that God is always watching over you, silently arranging everything, then, right now, leave a comment saying Amen below this video. Because who knows, at the very moment you write those words, a blessing may quietly enter your life. A bitterly cold Christmas Eve in Manhattan. A man weighed down by grief notices a faint cry in the snow. Nathaniel Cole had been drifting through the city for hours, unable to face the silence of his penthouse. The streets glittered with lights, choirs carried hymns through the air, but none of it reached him. His daughter Bella had died the winter before, and wealth could not shield him from the emptiness. He paused near Central Park, breath misting, when he heard it again, a thin, broken cry carried on the wind. Beneath the street lamp sat a girl curled on a frozen bench. Blonde hair, tangled coat, two thin hands gripping a crumpled paper bag. Her lips were blue, her eyelids heavy. Nathan dropped to his knees, snow soaking his trousers. "Sweetheart, why are you here?" he asked gently. She flinched, whispering, "I'm not supposed to sleep. Aunt Vanessa said..." "Not the hospital, not the police." His chest ached. He slipped off his coat and wrapped it around her shaking shoulders. "What's in the bag?" She opened it slightly, a stale, flattened cinnamon roll. He offered his hand, voice low. "How about a trade? You keep my coat, I get a bite." The girl hesitated, then tore off a piece and placed it in his palm. He ate it solemnly. "Best thing I've tasted all year." For the first time, her lips curved into a faint smile. "What's your name?" he asked. She whispered Lily. Nathan repeated it softly, anchoring her in the moment. Snow swelled harder as he pulled out his phone. "Mrs. Delgado, prepare a bath and cocoa. I am bringing someone home." He looked at Lily with a quiet plea. "Come with me just for tonight." She hesitated, eyes flicking to the park's shadows, then gave a tiny nod and slid her hand into his. The penthouse glowed with garlands and a towering tree, beautiful, yet lifeless. Nathan carried Lily through the doors, her face nearly hidden in his coat. Mrs. Delgado hurried forward, scolding softly in Spanish as she guided the girl toward warmth. Then she stopped, her eyes narrowing as the light revealed Lily's wrist. A faint constellation of bruises marked her skin. Mrs. Delgado gasps when she notices bruises on Lily's wrists. Steam curled from a mug of cocoa, while the bruises on Lily's arms told a darker truth. The penthouse, grand as a gallery, had never felt more alive than that night when Mrs. Delgado fussed over the child as if warmth alone could erase cold memories. Nathaniel Cole stood a step behind, hands locked together, unsure how to fit into the scene. He had spent months avoiding children, steering clear of laughter, refusing to touch Bella's untouched snow globe. Yet here was this fragile girl, wrapped in his coat, sipping cocoa, with trembling lips. Her small eyes darting between strangers and shadows, as though waiting for someone to snatch her back. Mrs. Delgado's stern voice filled the room, though her hands were gentle as she guided Lily toward the bath. Hot water, senor, then milk, then bed. In that order. She spoke like command, leaving no room for Nathan's hesitation. As Lily disappeared into the guest wing, Mrs. Delgado turned back to him, her tone sharp but not unkind. "This girl has been hurt. You must call the authorities. It is the law." Nathan's chest tightened. He had lived the machinery of hospitals and legal papers when Bella died signatures on life support forms that reduced love to ink. The idea of inviting institutions back into his life made him recoil. But Mrs. Delgado's eyes pierced through his silence. Being afraid is not the same as being unkind. You open the door tonight. Don't close it again. An hour later, the guest room smelled of lavender soap and warm cotton. Lily emerged in pajamas, far too large. Her hair damp, her small hands tugging at the sleeves. She looked around as though the polished ornaments and marble floors belonged to another world, one she wasn't meant to enter. On the piano sat the snow globe Nathan had not touched in a year. Lily crept toward it, pressing her nose against the glass before shaking it lightly. Glitter swirled around the porcelain figure inside.
"She looks happy," she whispered. Nathan's throat tightened. He had avoided that globe for months, unwilling to touch memory. Yet hearing another child speak to it felt like revival. Lily tilted her head toward the piano. "Do you play?" she asked. His voice was rough. "I used to." She climbed onto the bench, legs dangling, and looked at him expectantly. "Play me something." Nathan's fingers hovered stiff from avoidance. The first chord was broken uneven. Lily wrinkled her nose, then hummed the correct tune, steady and sure. "You're doing it wrong," she teased softly. The words loosened something locked inside him. He laughed, rusty from disuse, and tried again, following her humming. Together, melody found its way back into the room. Mrs. Delgado stood quietly in the doorway, arms folded, tears glinting, saying nothing.
For a heartbeat, the penthouse no longer felt like a mausoleum. It was alive with music and laughter, fragile but real. Lily leaned against the piano lid, yawning. "Promise you'll play again tomorrow." Nathan nodded, voice thick. "I promise." It was the first vow he had made since Bella's death. By morning, snowlight spilled across the windows, pale and sharp. The doorbell cut through the quiet. Mrs. Delgado opened it to reveal two figures, Detective Grant Hale in his NYPD jacket, and Monica Price, a CPS caseworker whose clipboard seemed heavier than her frame. Lily froze when she saw the uniforms retreating behind Nathan like a shadow afraid of daylight. Monica crouched, voice calm and professional. "Lily, my name is Monica. We're just here to make sure you're safe. Can I ask you a few questions?" The girl's fingers gripped Nathan's trousers, her eyes pleading without words. "Don't let them take me." Nathan forced his voice steady. "I found her in Central Park last night. She was freezing. She said her mother was in a hospital and an aunt told her not to seek help. That's all I know." Monica noted the bruises on Lily's wrists, her expression firm. "She'll need a medical exam today. For now, she'll remain here under temporary protective custody." Lily's grip loosened slightly at those words, "stays not taken." Detective Hale added gently, Mr. Cole, this isn't about suspicion. It's about safety. You did the right thing. Nathan exhaled, a weight pressing against old scars. He had sworn never to trust systems again, yet here he was signing forms with trembling hands, choosing law for the child's sake. The hospital was a world of antiseptic light and muffled beeping. Lily perched nervously on the edge of the exam table, Nathan beside her, Mrs. Delgado standing watch. Dr. Susan Bennett moved with calm precision, pressing a stethoscope to Lily's chest. Strong heartbeat, she murmured, but when she rolled up Lily's sleeve, her brow furrowed. Bruises bloomed along the child's arms, too uniform to be accidents. She examined her ears, noted infection left untreated. This isn't just neglect, she said quietly. This is repeated trauma. Monica wrote quickly, each word etching itself into official record. Nathan's jaw clenched until it ached. Then Lily whispered, voice trembling. It wasn't Mum. The room stilled. Even the machines seemed to hush. Lily twisted her fingers together, eyes brimming. Mum, Claire, she's in the hospital. A car crash. She would never hurt me. It was Aunt Vanessa. She yells. She says I'm trouble. And her boyfriend Travis. He scared Mum. At the hospital, Lily softly admits. It wasn't my mum. It was Aunt Vanessa and her boyfriend Travis. A voice from Nathan's past answered the phone, Frank Doyle, an ex-cop who knew the city's shadows. Nathan hadn't spoken to him in years, not since corporate disputes that required quiet surveillance and clean outcomes. Tonight, his voice was rough with urgency. Frank, it's not business. It's a child. 7 years old. Name's Lily Hartman. Her mother's in ICU after a crash. The Aunt Vanessa has custody, but the girl has bruises. She says Vanessa told her not to seek help, and there's a boyfriend, Travis Monroe. Something isn't right. On the other end, Frank exhaled gravel, rasping down the line. Children. Heavier than boardrooms, Nathan. But all right, I'll dig. I'll start with the crash. Police reports, insurance files, hospital logs. If the aunt's dirty, we'll know. Nathan's voice dropped low. Be careful. Whoever hurt her mother won't hesitate to hurt a child. Frank's grunt was steady, familiar. I've seen too much to underestimate people like that. Back in the penthouse, the air smelled of sugar and spice. Mrs. Delgado insisted that no child should face Christmas without gingerbread. Flour dusted her apron as trays clinked from the oven. Lily sat at the counter, small hands sticky with icing tongue poking out in concentration as she tried to fix gumdrop buttons onto a crooked cookie. Nathan leaned against the marble, watching her with a tug in his chest. Bella had once done this exact thing, messy, determined, proud of imperfections. He asked softly, "Who's that?" One for Lily, pressed a gingerbread figure gently onto the tray. For Mum. So when she wakes up, it's waiting. Silence fell for a moment. Mrs. Delgado turned to the oven, blinking. Nathan steadied his voice. And that one. He pointed at another with a missing arm. Lily smiled faintly. That's me. But I'm still standing. The words cut deeper than she knew. He crouched, careful. What about your aunt? Did she bake with you? Lily shook her head quickly. Aunt Vanessa doesn't cook. She just sells things. Mum's bracelets, her piano books. She takes them to the store with Travis. He yells a lot. He scared Mum. The name dropped like a stone. Nathan rose, jaw tight, excusing himself to the hall. Frank's voice picked up on the second ring. Nathan's words were clipped. Travis Monroe. Check him. He's tied to Vanessa. Lily says he scared her mother. Frank grunted. Monroe. I've heard the name. Bar fights sealed juvenile records, fast cars. Likes fists more than words. If he's in the picture, it's not coincidence. It's leverage. Hours later, Frank stood outside a pawn shop on 113th Street. The neon light buzzed yellow, washing the night in sickly glow. Through barred windows, Vanessa Hartman slid a velvet box across the counter. Inside shimmered a silver bracelet worn smooth by years of love. Claire's bracelet. The clerk inspected it with greedy eyes, while Vanessa tapped her phone. Beside her lounged Travis Monroe, leather jacket, creased smirk, loud even in silence. He draped an arm over Vanessa's shoulders, like ownership. Frank adjusted the recorder in his coat. The mic caught Vanessa's whisper. Once Claire's gone custody papers are ironclad, Lily becomes mine. Do you understand mine? And with her, the benefits. Travis chuckled low and cruel. Kids a gold mine. State checks sympathy, long as nobody asks how her mum got into that crash. Vanessa stiffened, shooting him a glare, but Frank had already captured it. He followed them as they left the shop, Vanessa clutching cash, like breath, Travis swaggering. Their laughter floated brittle and cold. Back in his office, Frank replayed the audio, the hiss of neon underscoring every damning word. He encrypted the file, then pulled another thread, the crash. The official report called it fatigue, reckless handling. But tunnel photos told another story. Claire's sedan showed impact at the rear quarter panel, deliberate no skid marks. A dark car had slid in, nudged, vanished. Frame by frame, Frank froze the bumper, fresh scrape, mismatched paint. He knew that shade. He'd seen it in Monroe's garage before. By midnight, Frank had a file thick enough to crush denial. Photos, audio witness notes. He stared at the evidence, muttering. Somebody herded her like cattle. Then he called Nathan. His voice was low, carrying the weight of truth. It wasn't an accident. It was staged. Snow turned heavy, melting into sleet, as Frank Doyle lingered near a dented chain-link fence in Queens. Across the street, a garage door hung half open, fluorescent light spilling onto the cracked pavement. Inside, Travis Monroe bent over a black sedan, sleeves rolled to the elbow, grease etched into his skin. The swagger he carried in bars and alleys was absent now. Here he worked with a predator's focus, repainting steel to erase truth. Frank's eyes narrowed at the rear bumper. Primer streaked pale grey against glossy black, the exact panel where Claire Hartman's car had been shoved against the tunnel wall. He raised his phone, snapping photographs, each click another nail in a coffin. A skinny teenager shuffled past arms, straining under cans of thinner and a stack of falsified plates. Travis barked at him. Faster, kid. We don't get sloppy then, muttered to himself while wiping sweat from his neck. Always a clean car. Always a new tag. Nobody proves nothing. Frank slid the recorder from his pocket, catching every word. He'd heard bravado like this before. Young men convinced they could outpace justice. Detective Grant Hale arrived with 2 patrol cars, tires crunching over slush. His voice rang steady across the garage. Step away from the vehicle, Monroe. Travis glanced up, smirk tugging at his lips. A Christmas raid. All this for a fender bender. Frank stepped forward, gravel voice sharp. Funny thing about fender benders. They don't usually involve primer, still wet plates you can swap by dawn, and a mother in the ICU. He laid photographs on the bench, Claire's wrecked sedan tunnel camera frames. The bumper half repainted. The smirk cracked. Hale closed the distance cuffs ready. Vehicular assault. Obstruction. Don't test me. Travis bolted. Frank moved instinctively, years of precinct chases returning to his body. He cut left, cornered him near stacked tires, caught his wrist mid-swing and twisted until bone groaned. Hale snapped the cuffs shut, voice low. You're done. Travis spat on the ground, defiant, even in chains. You don't get it. I wasn't driving for me. Vanessa wanted it. Said Claire was weak. Said the kid was leverage. Hale shoved him toward the cruiser, the red-blue lights bleeding into the sleet. Frank pocketed the recorder. The case was no longer suspicion, it was conspiracy. Across town, Nathaniel Cole sat at his dining table, papers spread before him. Monica Price explained each line with patience forged from years of broken families. We've filed for an emergency removal order. Lily remains here under CPS supervision. Vanessa cannot claim her until the court rules. Nathan signed with measured strokes. His pen pressed so hard the grooves cut through the silver. Mrs. Delgado stood with arms crossed, lips pursed. The aunt is poison. That girl stays safe here. Nathan looked across the room where Lily coloured quietly crayons scattered like confetti. For the first time, his penthouse walls carried life rather than echo. 2 days later, Manhattan Family Court smelled faintly of pine wreaths and stale coffee. Judge Eleanor Whitman entered her robe, flowing silver hair, pinned in a crown of quiet authority. On one side sat Vanessa Hartman, draped in mourning black veil framing her practiced tears. Her lawyer whispered in her ear, feeding lines like an actor's coach. Behind her, Travis lounged, arrogance intact, even in shackles. On the opposite side sat Nathan, calm but rigid, with Monica and Mrs. Delgado flanking him. Vanessa's lawyer opened, voice syruped with false concern. Your Honour, my client is blood. Family must come before wealth. Mr. Cole is a stranger, a millionaire who sees a child as charity. Claire Hartman is incapacitated. Lily deserves her rightful guardian, her aunt. Vanessa dabbed theatrically at her eyes, whispering loud enough for the gallery, she's all I have. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. Monica rose, spine straight. Her words carried no theatrics, only weight. Your Honour, Lily was found in Central Park, shivering, malnourished, covered in bruises, inconsistent with childhood play. Medical records confirm repeated trauma. Ms. Hartman sold her sister's belongings while Claire lay in a coma. The child has expressed fear of her aunt and trust in Mr. Cole. This is not guardianship. It is exploitation. She laid down photographs, doctor's notes, Lily's drawings. Judge Whitman studied one page longer than the rest. A crayon sketch of 3 stick figures holding hands labelled in uneven scrawl, Mom, me Nathan. Silence filled the chamber, thicker than any closing argument. At last the gavel struck once. Temporary custody remains with CPS. Physical placement with Mr. Cole will continue under supervision. Ms. Hartman is barred from contact pending investigation. Vanessa's mask fractured. Her eyes hardened, even as fresh tears rolled. She hissed at her lawyer, do something, but no law could bend to performance. Travis chuckled darkly, shackled hands tapping rhythm against the bench. Nathan sat still, feeling Lily's hand slip into his. He did not gloat, did not break composure. He only breathed steady for the first time, believing silence could be stronger than spectacle. But outside silence shattered. The courthouse lobby erupted with voices and camera flashes as Vanessa yanked out her phone livestream, already glowing red. Her voice shrill and rehearsed, pierced through the marble hall. In the courthouse lobby, Vanessa live streams. They stole my niece, stirring media frenzy. The penthouse had changed in small ways that only an attentive eye could catch. The grand chandelier no longer seemed like an ornament for ghosts, but a light for the living. The fire in the hearth burned more often now, its glow wrapping the marble and steel in warmth. And on the coffee table, beneath stacks of corporate reports Nathan once obsessed over, lay Lily's crayon drawings, crooked snowflakes, uneven stick figures, a snow leopard with bright red eyes, symbols of survival scattered across a millionaire's home. Yet outside, the world sharpened its knives. Vanessa Hartman's live stream had bled into tabloids' news feeds, talk shows. Millionaire kidnaps niece, screamed one headline. Custody battle in Manhattan's gilded towers. Reporters swarmed the sidewalk cameras, flashing against frostbitten glass. Nathan ignored them, though, each question they hurled. Are you exploiting her? Is this for publicity? Stabbed like echoes of accusations he'd endured in boardrooms. But this was no merger. This was a child. He could survive slander, but not the risk of losing Lily. She sat on the couch that evening, pajamas, too long, humming quietly while colouring. Her hands moved with care, shading blue skies above 3 stick figures. Nathan stood a few feet away, afraid to intrude as though the moment would shatter if touched. He thought of Bella, how her laughter once filled these rooms, how grief had frozen him in silence. But Lily looked up, caught his gaze and smiled, small, fleeting, but enough to melt the ice inside him. The phone rang. Frank Doyle's gravel voice carried urgency. Collins broke, tied Vanessa straight to the crash, said she called Claire weak, called the kid leverage. DA's got him cold. We're filing charges. The mask is about to come off. Nathan's eyes settled on Bella's snow globe perched on the piano glitter, frozen around the porcelain girl inside. He whispered, voice steady with new resolve. Then the fight comes here, and I won't let her win. The courthouse the next morning was a theatre of contradictions, pine wreaths on the walls, but tension thick as smoke. Judge Eleanor Whitman presided, her silver hair pinned like armour. On one side, Vanessa Hartman sat cloaked in mourning black veil, draped for maximum effect. Her lawyer, smooth and rehearsed, painted Nathan as a predator in a tailored suit. Your honour, my client, is family, the only blood left. Mr. Cole is a stranger, a man of means, exploiting tragedy for image. Surely the court sees through this performance. Vanessa dabbed her eyes, theatrically murmuring just loud enough. She's all I have. Murmurs spread through the gallery. Monica Price rose next, unshaken. Your honour. Lily was found in Central Park, shivering, malnourished, bruised. Hospital records confirm repeated trauma. Ms. Hartman pawned her sister's belongings while Claire lay in a coma. The child has expressed fear of her aunt and trust in Mr. Cole. This is not guardianship. It is exploitation. She placed photographs and medical notes and Lily's drawings before the bench. Then Officer Grant Hale entered a recorder in his hand. With the judge's nod, he pressed play. Vanessa's voice spilled into the chamber. Once Claire's gone custody papers are ironclad, Lily becomes mine. Do you understand mine? And with her, the benefits. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Vanessa's face drained of colour. She stammered excuses, fear, grief, desperation, but Hale read from Travis Monroe's signed confession. Words in black ink planned accident, leverage, profit. The truth lay naked, unvarnished. Judge Whitman's gavel struck like a thunderclap. Custodial rights revoked. This case referred for criminal prosecution. Vanessa screamed as officers gripped her arms. You don't understand. She was supposed to be mine. Her voice cracked with desperation, shattering the veil of innocence she had worn for weeks. The gallery whispered phones, raised headlines, born in real time. Nathan stayed seated, jaw clenched, hand steady as Lily slipped into his. He did not gloat. He only exhaled, knowing the war was not yet done. Later that night, antiseptic air pressed down on Presbyterian Hospital's ICU. Machines beeped, steady counting breaths borrowed from fate. Claire Hartman had been a figure of stillness for weeks, her body pale against white sheets, her spirit tethered by wires. Nathan lingered at the doorway, unwilling to intrude, yet unable to leave. On the wall above her bed, taped with hospital-grade care, hung Lily's drawings, hearts, snowmen. A gingerbread man with a missing leg. Every line scrawled in crayon whispered, "Come back, Mum. I'm waiting." Monica sat nearby, clipboard closed for once. She's been stable for 48 hours. Sometimes that's when the tide turns, she said softly. As if summoned, Claire's fingers twitched. The heart monitor spiked. Her eyelids fluttered heavy as iron before opening to sterile light. Her lips parted around a rasp. Lily. Monica leaned forward quickly. She's safe. Do you hear me? Your daughter is safe. Recognition flared in Claire's eyes, tears following close behind. Nathan stepped closer, shadow falling across her bed. He hadn't planned words, he only wanted her to see someone had fought for her child. Claire's voice cracked urgent, despite its weakness. Vanessa. Travis. Her mouth trembled with fear, memory of betrayal, sharper than pain. The names hung in the air like a curse, pulling every listener into silence. Emily wakes up in the hospital and whispers her sister's name with fear, Vanessa. Travis. The ICU smelled of antiseptic and fear. Machines kept rhythm, each beep a reminder of how fragile life had become. Claire Hartman's eyelids remained half closed, her voice weak, but her words had already shifted the ground beneath them. Vanessa. Travis. Names that tasted like poison. Nathan stood frozen at the foot of the bed. He had expected gratitude, perhaps confusion, but not this. An accusation born of terror. His instincts told him what Frank had already suspected: the crash had been no accident. It was an attack, yet hearing it from Claire herself carved truth into stone. Lily clung to his sleeve, eyes wide. She was too young to grasp legal nuance, too old not to sense the danger. She's awake, she whispered, as if speaking louder might undo the fragile miracle. Mrs. Delgado bent down, smoothing Lily's hair. Yes, mi amor, your mama is fighting. For the first time, Lily dared to step closer to the bed, slipping her tiny hand into her mother's. Claire stirred weak fingers, curling instinctively around her daughter's. Tears streamed down Lily's cheeks. I kept the gingerbread man for you. He's waiting. Claire's lips trembled with the ghost of a smile, but her eyes remained shadowed. Safe. Promise me she's safe. Her voice cracked, thin as paper. Nathan answered before he could think. She is. I swear it. And for the first time in months, he realized the vow didn't terrify him. Monica Price's face hardened as she scribbled notes. This changes everything. With Claire conscious, we can challenge Vanessa's guardianship claims outright. And with her testimony, she glanced at the weak woman on the bed. We can finally close the door she tried to force open. Nathan nodded, but his gaze never left Claire. He saw not only a mother returning from silence, but a battlefield carved into her skin. Frank Doyle arrived minutes later, his coat damp from snow. He listened as Nathan repeated Claire's words. His jaw clenched. It matches Collins's confession. We've got her, Nathan. Vanessa's lies are done, but don't think she'll go quietly. People like her. When the walls close in, they get desperate. His warning lingered in the sterile air. That night, Nathan returned to the penthouse with Lily asleep against his shoulder. Outside, paparazzi lights flared like lightning questions hurled into the cold. He ignored them all. Inside, he laid the child gently into bed, her small hand still curled as if clutching her mother's. For once, he did not see Bella's ghost in every corner. He saw possibility fragile, dangerous, but alive. Yet as he stood by the window, watching Manhattan shimmer under fresh snow, Frank's words echoed. Desperate people rarely surrender. And Vanessa Hartzman had just lost everything. The storm had not ended. It had only changed shape. Today's story comes to an end, but its echo still lingers in the heart. What do you think? Give us a score from 1 to 10 and feel free to share a few words in the comments. Every voice here is valued and heard. Before you go, let me ask you gently. Are you doing okay today? If your heart feels heavy, let this place be a quiet corner where you can share and find comfort. See you again in the next bedtime story where love and hope remind us that no matter how dark the night may seem, kindness shall always prevail.